Princesscore, a style and internet aesthetic that you may regularly see on Instagram, Pinterest, and a little bit on Tumblr. The very core of Princesscore involves the style and way of life of a princess, or at least the way we culturally define of what being a princess is, but we'll get to that later. You see a lot of frolicking around, having tea parties, and best of all, the princess dresses. Oh my god, the princess dresses. Can someone spill the tea on these silky dresses? I need some info. Though this look has been transferred to the red carpet, I don't really see this aesthetic being talked about too much. Maybe it's just not as loud as something like mob wife core, which I'm not really sure how that trend started, but maybe that's a topic for a different video. And mark my words, Wall Street wife is going to be the new trend. I will guarantee that. Even in our adult lives, we still embrace and indulge in the fairy tale fantasy. I first saw this look pop up around 2021, which, for obvious reasons, is yet another online aesthetic inspired by the mishaps of Miss Rona. I think that Princesscore sort of took off as an offset of cottagecore, but with more sparkles, more petticoats, and more floor-length dresses. I also think that Bridgerton helped make it popular, and if you think about it, the 2020 trends focuses on some sort of fantasy and escapism. Think fairy core, mermaid core, Barbie core, coquette, royal core, which honestly, I don't really know the difference between that and Princesscore. And then I wondered, where did all this princess stuff come from? In our adulthood, we are currently living out our kindergarten fantasies, or rather, we're reintroducing ourselves to them. So I thought about examining the roots. The princessification of little girlhood. It wasn't just a fantasy. It was a massively successful cultural impact. So how did we get here? By the way, I'm going to say the word princess a lot in this video. So princesses has been the stars of fairy tales since basically forever. But the princesses established by the Walt Disney Company is the public face of the princess motif. The Disney Princess line was established in 2000. There would be another princess brand that popped up 1 year later, but we'll get to that soon enough. The line emerged by ex-Nike executive Andy Mooney, who noticed that there was a missing marketing opportunity. Here, Disney heroines would be marketed in a different franchise from their original movies. This was sort of a controversial decision because Disney executives feared that lumping these different characters together could cheapen the legendary original movies. To compromise, the brand's designs would showcase the princesses avoiding eye contact with one another. I would say that the original lineup seems a bit hastily put together. I mean, some of these girls aren't even princesses. Like, the definition of a Disney princess is a bit arbitrary. Like, Princess Alonwe from The Black Cauldron had the misfortune of starring in a box office flop, so I guess she doesn't count. But for some reason, Tinkerbell was in the lineup. I'm not really sure why. But anyways, there weren't any focus groups involved in the creation of the brand. That almost never happens when producing kids' media. In the same year of publicly establishing the brand, Disney consumer products earned up to $300 million. Disney Princess made its first billion in 2003, and by 2012, the Disney Princess brand would earn up to $3 billion. I know that some people tend to be a bit snobby when it comes to media that targets girls, but in the end of the day, the money speaks. I do think it's interesting that in some of the first products the Disney girls produced, you could tell they were trying to be Barbie, and then Barbie would try to be a Disney princess, but we'll get to that later. But dolls were only a fraction of what the brand offered. There are 26,000 products for this line. They were truly a lifestyle brand. In the 2000s, when the brand was in its heyday, Disney movies weren't really bringing that much profit, at least not like in the 90s. We wouldn't even get a new Disney princess until Princess and the Frog in 2009. This was 9 years after the brand was established. But really, I don't think that Disney was too worried about their movies at this point. They still had plenty of ways to make money and influence kid culture. There was, of course, princess marketing, theme parks, and the Disney Channel, which produced real-life Disney princesses. And of course, Pixar was doing great, so they were fine. Disney Princess as a brand heavily impacts the culture's interest in this type of fantasy, and more importantly, showcases its marketing potential. The Disney Princess brand is so incredibly massive, it has essentially become a part of the culture of female childhood. But it wasn't alone. The CGI Barbie movie franchise. Music that is featured in multiple Princesscore YouTube playlists. The creator of 1,000 memes. The Barbie direct-to-DVD movies were made as a response to a decline in the doll's sales, and to broaden the brand's image. In the early 2000s, more and more kids would play online instead of with physical toys. So Barbie would broaden her horizons by diversifying into online and digital media. And while we're at it, why not cash in on this princess trend? Fun fact, Barbie's little sister Kelly had her own little movies for a bit. I feel like nobody talks about this, and I've never heard of it until I did research for this video, so yeah, this exists. 1 year after the Disney Princess brand was established, Barbie starred in her first CGI animated masterpiece, Barbie and the Nutcracker. It's a Christmas classic. Now yes, I know it's technically, first and foremost, a ballet corps movie, but I say look at her. Look at her tiara. Look at her pink dress. She's playing a sugar plum princess. I mean, if the glass shoe fits. Barbie and the Nutcracker well prepares viewers on what to expect in future Barbie movies. Lots of pink, lots of glamour, stunning visuals, and iconic sparkly dresses. I can never say no to sparkly dresses. The next Barbie movie, Rapunzel, is a more unambiguously Princesscore movie than the previous installment. And can we talk about how Barbie did a Rapunzel movie before Disney went on that? I'm just saying. I see Rapunzel being referenced a lot more in Pinterest and Instagram than I see Nutcracker. I mean, the theme song alone is already recognizable. I've never taught a ballet class, and I probably never will, but if I did, I would 100% have a Barbie movie theme day. Barbie as Rapunzel is a movie that I really appreciate. I just love the visuals, especially outside the castle. The colors look good. It has a fair share of interesting moments. After Rapunzel, we had Barbie of Swan Lake. Why not just call it Barbie in Swan Lake? There is a prince, but Barbie is not a princess in this one. Diversity. So due to that, I'll skip this one. But I will mention that this introduced me to the music of Swan Lake, which I would later rediscover in the height of my edgy 11-year-old phase when I was obsessed with Black Swan. The next installment was the Barbie movie magnum opus, Barbie as the Princess and the Pauper. How much more Barbiecore and Princesscore can you get? I mean, even the villain is a fashion icon. The music is greatly catchy. I mean, Free and Girl Like You are massive bops and you can't convince me otherwise. Free is a better song than Let It Go. I said what I said. James Ilyich of the Star Tribune even joked that it was the Citizen Kane of kids movies, but was he wrong? I remember that I saw the commercials for The Princess and the Pauper all the time, and I knew this was the movie that I wanted to see. This was the movie I needed to see. It felt like forever for it to come out on DVD, which probably was really less than a month, and it quickly became an after-school staple for me. I also remember seeing a commercial for the dolls, and a girl with brown hair puts on a brown wig. Slay. It just feels so comfy that I still see this movie being referenced online, like there's cosplay, covers of the songs. The Barbie side of the internet is such a good side, like life is good there. Everything is just like really cozy, you know? So after Princess and the Pauper, there's Fairytopia. That was a fairy movie, so I'll just bookmark that.
Aren't you the most luscious thing a branch ever saw?
After that, there was Barbie and the Magic of Pegasus. I don't really remember this one too much, but Barbie plays a princess again. And similarly to the Nutcracker, it has a wintry vibe, like lots of ice skating. The bad guy says this.
Allow me to introduce myself. Wenlock, your future husband.
I remember in one scene Barbie did something and the love interest dude says to the Pegasus, "Is she crazy?" And then one day I was at recess with a couple of friends and then one of them did something that I don't really remember and the other said to me, "Is she crazy?" Just like how he did. And I was like, oh my god, I saw that movie too. Barbie movies are a very you know if you know type of thing, but I feel like this movie was a bit forgotten compared to the other Barbie installments. After Pegasus, I didn't see any other Barbie movies after that, so I can't speak for the rest. But I do know that Barbie and the 12 Dancing Princesses is one that gets referenced a lot online, so I should probably check that one out. Interestingly, I see more Barbie media than Disney media being recognized in the Princesscore aesthetic. It's possible that because Disney is such a gigantic media giant, referencing it would be a little bit too obvious, and the Barbie movies need some more well-deserved attention. But I think what's more likely is because Barbie movies just sort of fits the image a little bit better. While Disney is not afraid to show dark or even scary imagery, Barbie movies are pinker, lighter, even girlier than Disney. While sales-wise, Disney definitely took over Barbie in the little girl market, her movies still left a cultural impact. $700 million from 10 movies probably means that the kids loved it. And the memes. Oh my god, the memes. In my childhood era, there was a long list of miscellaneous princess movies, most of which are related to Disney, some aren't. But they do get referenced online under the Princesscore hashtag. Some of which were coming before I was born, so it's interesting to see that I was essentially primed for the princess fantasy. Cinderella 1997 was a moment for television. One thing that I do adore about this movie is that it reminded me of when television movies were not just TV movies. They were events. And I don't think that happens that much anymore. I remember I used to get hyped for whatever DCOM was coming out for the month. I feel like the anticipation added to the viewing experience. The production team did their thing. Not that many 90s TV movies look like this. The integral Cinderella dress is flawless. More retailers need to sell stuff like this, like they'll make a fortune. The music was great, even spawning a meme or two.
Impossible, impossible, impossible.
And when I say this was an event, I mean it. 60 million people tuned into Cinderella 97 for at least a little bit. It was the most viewed television musical in years. Again, some people need to stop underestimating the power of girl-oriented media. In 2017, Mashable even stated that Cinderella 97 was the best live-action princess remake. The feel and tone of this movie is very comfy and fun, which is just what I need in a princess movie. The Princess Diaries is one of the few princess movies that is set in modern times. It was adapted from the novel written by Meg Cabot of the same name. To this day, it's one of the most notable and referenced romantic comedies, also bringing Anne Hathaway to a broader audience. With this movie, the world witnessed the jaw-dropping shock that a conventionally attractive girl in glasses is deep down a conventionally attractive girl. What in the Hogwarts is going on? Now, this is specifically a Princesscore fantasy movie because there is barely any discussions on how to be a ruler or anything about politics. But rather, we get lessons on how to sit and wave. Fun. And in the end, Princess Mia of fictional country has her tiara, she has her dress, she does a robot dance. Life is good. The sequel is much goofier, but I will say it has its moments. It was everything that childhood me thought adulthood would look like. Banquets, giving tiaras away, walk-in closets.
This is so cool!
But the scene that I remember the most is the slumber party scene. Princesses, roller skating, 10 out of 10 junk food, and most importantly, mattress surfing! This movie felt a lot more upbeat than the previous, and we even get a small musical sequence. But the princess vibes end there because Mia becomes the queen of fictional country. And then there was Sofia Coppola's Marie Antoinette, which I know is not a child-friendly movie, but it is still griped with all the princess aesthetics that we love. The pastels of it all. Every shot of this could be a painting. This is the best movie ever made. But we see a darker reality of what a princess really is. But in my opinion, this is Sofia Coppola's magnum opus. We see a piece of history shown from the perspective of a teenage girl, who is also in a position of political power. We are regularly reminded of how young she really is. It's a type of princess movie that you can vibe with by the time you're in middle school. It's a bit more edgy than like Ariel. And princess media during the time of my childhood didn't stop there. And this wasn't just a trend for movies. Let's not forget the inescapable princess birthday parties, princess bedrooms, princess slumber parties. Does anyone remember Club Libby Lou? You could be a princess but at the same time a kindergarten version of your favorite pop singers. The decals on the walls and dressing rooms include, "I love your hair," "Hip chick," "Spoiled," were written in girlfriend language. I wouldn't describe it as that, but okay. If you grew up in the 2000s, princess-related media seemed inescapable. At least in my elementary school, every girl had an assortment of princess-themed backpacks, lunch bags, and school supplies. The princess costume was basically an expected Halloween staple. And for me, personally, it was lit. I loved the pink, the sparkles, the fantasy. It was just fun.
Ponies! Ponies! Oh my gosh, look at the mane!
But what I find interesting is that this wasn't necessarily the case for past generations. The princess fantasy existed, but not nearly what it would become later on. I would say that a big reason for this is Disney. During the Disney Renaissance of the 90s, there was a large enough group of princess characters that can be established as a singular brand. And then there was commercialization. Lots and lots of commercialization. Mooney, the creator of the Disney Princess brand, stated, "We simply gave girls what they want. But in regards to the princess fantasy, are the girls getting what they want? Or are they adapting to what is expected of them?" The realistic, boring answer to that is, it depends on the individual. And I can easily see why marketers would love to push these ideas. I mean, if you have a Disney Princess alarm clock, why not get a Disney Princess bedspread? Or a Princess TV? And a small plastic vanity set? It's not necessarily cheap. Maybe not American Girl level of expensive, but still. Playing princess is not the issue, argues Lynn Michael Brown, an author with Sharon Lamb of Packaging Girlhood, Rescuing Our Daughters from Marketer Schemes. The issue is 25,000 princess products, says Brown, a professor of education and human development at Colby College. When one thing is so dominant, then it is no longer a choice. It's a mandate, cannibalizing all other forms of play. There's the illusion of more choices out there for girls, but if you look around, you'll see their choices are steadily narrowing. I suppose a valid critique of princess media culture is how expected it is of little girls. Adults might call you princess a lot, or just assume that you love Disney and Barbie and stuff like that. I love that stuff, but I was still annoyed that adults could assume those things about me. And if you grew up just not interested in girly media, I can understand how it could feel isolating. But this stems not from the media, but rather the perception of the media. Cinderella Ate My Daughter, written by Peggy Ornstein, dives into how expansive the princess brand is. And I do agree with her in the stance that, yeah, little girls do deserve to enjoy a variety of interests, not restricting to only stereotypically girly topics. But at the same time, she does kind of seem like those type of moms where basically everything is inappropriate. And she kind of describes fashion dolls as slutty a little bit too much.
Not cool.
I think we have room for balance. But one thing that I wish the book talked more about was that the marketing of these princess characters were not necessarily the same as the characters in the canonical movies. Basically, the creative writing departments and the marketing departments are in separate buildings, probably miles away from each other. In the realm of princess critiques and princess defenders, what they're both missing is how powerful the Disney princess brand is, how they were commercialized. How many times have we seen a commercialized version of Mulan wearing the dress that she hated? Mulan as a marketable product and movie Mulan are two different characters. You get what I mean? And this almost never gets brought up in the princess debate. It's why both sides of the princess argument just sort of annoys me, like both criticisms are way too shallow. But as girls become women, we see a broad variety of interests and perspectives. Maybe in different groups or cliques, but still, a variety. We can go over the nuances all day, but regarding the princess obsession, I don't think that little kids are as dumb as people think. Though there are so many layers to the topic, even as kids, we all knew it was just a fantasy.
It's just a movie. It's pretend. You're an adult, you should know that.
The critiques that people have about princesses, mostly that they could cause negative self-esteem, typically is sourced from our surroundings, not necessarily from fiction, or at least only from fiction. And personally, from what I've seen, negative self-esteem and the pressure to be perfect stems from the teenage and adult world, not childhood fantasy play. More realistically, I think a more probable consequence of princess play is simply having more positive memories of Disney or Barbie or whatever. In 2011, there was a Disney Princess album that featured an original song, "Every Girl Can Be a Princess." Can, if that's what you want. Progress. Common criticisms of girl-focused media highlight common issues. The glorification of consumerism, encouraging passivity, heavy emphasis on looks. But what I'm seeing now with how the Princesscore aesthetic is represented online, it more represents leisure, self-expression, creativity, and even community. The Princesscore, softcore, royalcore online space is relatively small, so we need to stick together. I think now we're rediscovering the excitement and whimsy of the princess fantasy, probably because most of us have spent our preteen and teenage years steering away from it. And by most of us, I mean me, and probably you. But basically just be yourself.
Be yourself. Be yourself. Be yourself.
Be a princess, or at least dress like one, if that's how you like to dress. I had a lot of fun doing research for this video. I love looking back at some fun childhood memories, but I do plan on making more analysis on hyper girly things like this. I think it deserves to be talked about more. So I hope to see you all in the next one. Bye!